What if the future of the world ran on electricity, but one country owned the plug? What if the so-called Green Revolution was less about saving the planet and more about surrendering control? While the world was busy feeling guilty about carbon footprints, China was busy mining, refining, and building an empire. An empire powered not by oil or armies, but by batteries. In our first episode, we exposed how China used America's own system, debt, offshoring, and greed to break the industrial heart of the West. Factories closed, jobs vanished. The economy hollowed out. America became weaker, China became stronger. But that was only step one. Breaking America was only half the plan. While the West was distracted, China was setting the stage for something far bigger, controlling the future of energy itself. From building a global mining empire, to controlling the refining of the world's critical minerals, to weaponizing environmentalism against the very nations that trusted it, China didn't just join the Green Revolution, it owns it. And now, the world is walking straight into its energy trap. China's great energy trap, how they took over the future. Chapter 1. Mining the Future. While the West was celebrating the new economy of finance, tech, and services, China was digging. In the 1990s and early 2000s, China launched a massive effort to lock down the resources of the future: lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite, rare earth elements, the building blocks of batteries, electronics, and the new energy economy. At home, China ramped up mining operations like the Baotou rare earth mines in Inner Mongolia. But domestically wasn't enough. China needed the world. In Africa, China moved swiftly. In 2016, China Molybdenum Company acquired the Tenke Fungurume mine in the Democratic Republic of Congo, one of the largest sources of cobalt on Earth, for $2.65 billion. In South America, Chinese firms bought stakes in lithium mines in Chile and Argentina. In Australia, they secured agreements with lithium producers while investing heavily in transportation and shipping infrastructure. Today, Chinese companies control a majority of the world's lithium refining capacity, even though Australia mines the most raw lithium. The world thought it could simply mine elsewhere, but China was already thinking 2 steps ahead. Chapter 2. Refining Power. Mining gets the raw materials out of the ground, but raw minerals are worthless without refining. Refining transforms rocks into the metals and chemicals that modern industry depends on. And China made sure that refining happened on their soil, not in the West. Today, China processes 58% of the world's lithium, 68% of the world's cobalt, 80% of the world's rare earth elements. Even companies outside of China, like Lynas Rare Earths in Australia, are still forced to send materials to be refined elsewhere, often back to Asia. China didn't just control the mines, it controlled the entire supply chain. Without China's refining industry, there is no green future. Chapter 3. Manufacturing the environmental narrative, owning the minerals and the refineries, was only part of the plan. The next move was to make the world need what China controlled. In the early 2000s, China became an unlikely champion of green energy. It promoted renewable energy at the United Nations. It invested heavily in solar panels and electric vehicle technology. It signed on to the Paris Climate Agreement and called for global action on climate change. But behind the scenes, China's true energy strategy never changed. Even as it built solar panels for the world, China was building new coal plants at home. Even as it lectured others about carbon footprints, China's own emissions soared past those of the United States, Europe, and Japan combined. China wasn't going green. China was going dominant. By pushing environmentalism globally, China encouraged Western governments to rush into electrification, long before they had secured their own critical mineral supplies. China turned environmentalism into a Trojan horse, and the West welcomed it inside. Chapter 4: Weaponizing Western Guilt. Western nations, eager to show leadership on climate issues, accelerated the rush toward an all-electric future. Net zero by 2050, 50% electric vehicles by 2030, carbon taxes, fossil fuel divestment, coal plant shutdowns. But while the policies were ambitious, the supply chains weren't ready. In America, only a tiny fraction of lithium, cobalt, and rare earths are produced domestically. The majority must come from abroad, and most of that is processed by China. In 2021, President Biden signed an executive order calling for half of all new cars sold in the United States to be electric by 2030. But no plan was made to source the critical minerals independently. No plan to onshore refining. No plan to break the growing dependency on China. By pushing green energy without building green supply chains, the West handed China a weapon it never even had to fire. Chapter 5: The New Oil. Batteries. In the 20th century, oil was power. Nations fought wars, made alliances, and shaped the world around it. In the 21st century, batteries are becoming the new oil, and China has positioned itself as the Saudi Arabia of the battery world. China's CATL and BYD are now the largest battery producers globally. Tesla, Ford, General Motors, they all rely on Chinese minerals and Chinese batteries. Without China, the global green revolution grinds to a halt. And it's not just cars. Wind farms, solar fields, data centers, military systems, all of them depend on battery storage. China doesn't need to invade to conquer. It just needs to flip the switch. It was never about the environment. The uncomfortable truth is this: China still burns more coal than the rest of the world combined. China is still building diesel backup generators for its solar fields. China's real energy policy has nothing to do with saving the environment. It has everything to do with controlling the future. By controlling critical minerals, refining capacity, and the world's battery supply, China has set an energy trap, and the world is walking straight into it. The next energy crisis won't be about oil, it will be about batteries. And China already owns the battlefield. If you found this video eye-opening, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Because the story of China's rise is far from over.